everyone, if you're stopping here because you're considering buying the Costco Greenhouse, this is the video for you. My name is Leigh and welcome to our backyard garden. We have had this Costco Greenhouse for almost 1 full year now. We really didn't start using it until springtime, but I thought I would take the opportunity to talk to you about it now because I just got my Costco flyer and you can see that they are offering a rebate on the greenhouse. So it says here that after your online rebate, it comes down to $11.99.99 online. Now keep in mind that when you order something like this from Costco.com, this price includes delivery. Now this greenhouse is very cumbersome. It comes in 2 very large, very heavy boxes, and some people just don't have the means to get a structure like this home very easily from the warehouse. It has been in the warehouse for several months. I think it's $13.89. I can confirm that because we did start to take some video weeks ago when we saw it come back in stock, and we were going to make a video about it, but I just was not ready yet. So, you know, I'm glad I really didn't mention it because I wasn't anticipating that they were going to do just, you know, an online offer. It costs them more money to send it to you and offer you a price online, but I guess the warehouse is full of them. And there's pros and cons to this structure. There's reasons why I think you should buy it and reasons why I think maybe you should skip over it. So if you can accept it for what it is, I'm going to tell you what I think, and I'm going to go over a few details of what's been happening over the last year. Now, first I will say, at this price, at $11.99.99 delivered, that's for what it is, I think a great price if this is in your price range and you can afford to buy a structure like this, knowing that it might not do everything that you need. But I'm learning that any greenhouse that you buy is probably going to have this type of issues that we've been, you know, experiencing over the last year. Prior to owning this, we were not experienced greenhouse owners. We never even built anything this complicated. So if you've been walking by and seeing it in the warehouse, maybe you saw it last year and you've been curious and you walk in just to smell that cedar smell and you go by it and you say, oh my gosh, isn't that so cute? It smells great. It is very cute, but it comes with its share of issues. Some people bought it and had 0 issues. They were able to get it home easily. They took it out of the box. They assembled it. It went together great. They love it, and it's their, you know, living their best life with this wonderful greenhouse, which really sincerely makes me very happy to hear. But then there's a group of us who had problems where when we opened the box, we realized there were parts missing. There were parts that were seriously damaged. Some of the wood came warped and really we were unable to put it together. So you have to deal with customer service and they will send you out the parts. The Yardistry brand, which is, you know, who offers this, the customer service was really great, but it causes a big delay in the production. So here's a few things that I want to get out of the way before I forget as I ramble off on the many pros and cons of this cute little structure. If you go ahead and bite the bullet and get it at this awesome sale price, because compared to, I think last year when we bought it online, it was like $1,700 or $1,800. And through a series of situations, we ended up getting the current warehouse price. And what I'll do is we'll attach all the links of the videos of from when we ordered it, how much we paid, the delivery, the assembly, building the foundation, constructing a base, what materials we used. We put a floor inside of it. We had to alter the vent roof hinge. So this is a whole series of things that you want to consider. Now, if you go ahead and you order it at this sale price, remember, anything that you get at Costco can be returned. This is just a little bit cumbersome to have to put into your car or truck and take it back to the warehouse. If it's that much of an issue and you want to return it, they will send a truck for you, but you will have to jump through some hoops. Anyway, if you get it and you're really excited and you bring it home, one of the first things that you're going to want to do is a very detailed inventory and inspection of your parts. This has been notorious for being delivered with very important parts that are coming warped. Our door was warped. We had to make adjustments for that because the replacement was warped. We can't use the vent hinge because it just doesn't work properly because of the warped wood, and it's just a part of its character. So make sure you do inventory before you start construction. You don't want to do that inventory on the day that you're building it because it will cause a delay. If you get this up to a certain extent and a storm comes through, you're very vulnerable that it could potentially blow down. So, you know, most important thing, getting it home, doing inspection, planning on how you're going to build it. It does need to be assembled in a level spot, and it also needs to be installed onto a level spot. So considering a base and a level foundation are absolutely critical to the ease of assembly once you have a good and thorough parts list. And then for stability and longevity of the actual structure itself, you're going to want this to live in a place where the water can drain away from it, because they're saying it's cedar. It's not like your best quality cedar. It doesn't even smell like cedar anymore, and bugs are starting to eat it. So it has its pros and its cons. So here's the review that I did last year. We'll attach that link. Like I said, you'll want to look at that review because every opinion that I had in that review still stands. What I want to add to it is showing you some wear and tear from exposure that it's absolutely out of my control. We are planning on touching it up as far as the exposure and things that have happened, and I will be sealing it this year because you want to wait. Not everyone waits a full year to seal it, but it is recommended that you allow wood to patina over time, and then you go ahead and you seal it after it's grayed a bit. So we will be doing that. It does leak. It leaks in several spots, so it could take a whole season before you find out where your leaks are coming from. Silicone is silicone. You may have to go back and reapply it. So we will be filling in some areas. But overall, do I really think this structure is worth over $1,000? Again, if your budget will allow you to have something like this as a hobbyist, I didn't use that term before. Now I'm saying that this is more for a hobbyist, because here in New Jersey, we have 4 seasons, and wherever you might be, depending on what your seasons are, this structure is going to offer you different things. It basically has its own climate inside of there. The top of it gets very, very hot all year long. I mean, it was the middle of winter and it was 100 degrees in there without the vent open and the door open. So I still find myself having to come in and out. I'm happy that we put the manual hinge on there because we get big storms here in our climate, in our New Jersey area. And if wind comes and that structure is hot inside after a really hot day when we had this heat dome bear down on us, and even like I said, with everything open, it was 120 degrees in there. You won't really be able to manually just drop that roof and get this structure closed up if you have that automatic hinge, because that's on pressure. So you want to be in a place where you can close this thing up and lock it down on an instant. So it does have some design flaws, and I feel like that vent roof is one of them. It does not offer good ventilation overall. There is a small vent in the bottom rear of it that allows some airflow, but we just keep the door open all the time unless it's raining or windy, and the vent is open all the time. As we were starting to grow in it in the springtime, we realized that it went down to air temperature on cold nights, but in the daytime it was really hot. So I realized, okay, if it's too hot up top, then I can drop things down to the floor, and that brought the temperature down on some days by 20 degrees. So I had to figure out what needed to live on a shelf, what needed to live on the floor. All very, very tricky. Now, experienced greenhouse owners usually have electricity and water and different types of fan ventilation and even heaters in these things. Do I think this is worthy of a heater? I honestly do not. I think it's too small for a heater, but it could use an area for a fan to run. A solar fan would probably be your best option. So if you can buy this knowing its nuances of it, many days it's going to be too hot, many days it's going to be too cold, I will tell you that the thing I loved about it the most was that it offered me a little place where I could come in the springtime, and it acted as a wonderful potting shed. I was able to mix my own potting soil and set all my seeds in here. It was warm. It came out on a cold day, and I went in there and it was like springtime. It was wonderful. So I'm able to put on music or even just listen to the sounds of nature as I work quietly, and the interruptions of what goes on in my noisy house were not present because I was out here in my own little world. Something I covered in one of the other videos is the latch on the door is dangerous. I got locked in there one day and it very, very rapidly became excruciatingly hot. Now, the heat, you know, here's what I'll compare it to for you. You know, if you leave your car parked outside, or if you've gone shopping and your car is parked outside, it can be the middle of winter, but you know, when your car's sitting out in the sun, it gets hot. I want you to think about the glass and what happens when you're inside of a car. It's the same thing. Your car can be blazing hot in the middle of a winter day, but then at nighttime you're sitting in there and you're freezing cold. So experiencing the inside of a greenhouse is very similar to experiencing a car or a vehicle that is, you know, parked outside. So consider changing the latch on the door. Consider getting a manual hinge for the roof vent. Consider that depending on what your climate is, you're going to have to run in and out. And, you know, if you have seedlings, I was able to start some seedlings out here, but for the most part, things like my tomatoes and my peppers and everything that I needed to keep in a certain climate control, I would bring them out to harden off out here. That worked out wonderfully because they didn't get wind blown, and I was able to introduce them. And then eventually I was able to leave them in the greenhouse for hours, and they got sun and light that my artificial lighting system just has not offered in any season yet. So we really got a good head start with seedlings. So as far as that's concerned, it went really, really well. But I did have to, there were mornings where I would have to bring them out, and then it got too hot, so I'd have to drag them all right back in the house again. But you know, if you're a person who is away from the house all day and you really can't take the time to do something like that, where you're running in and out and you're devoting, I am devoted to being a gardener. I am a stay-at-home bird mom at this point in my life. So, you know, I just want you to consider what it is that this is going to do for you and what it is that you want to use it for before you go out and spend your money. So now I'm just going to show you some wear and tear on it that's happening from exposure, and it's just one more thing to think about. And then I'm going to tell you again what my overall opinion is and whether or not I think it's worth the money. I usually do when I come out right now, I've been dragging in supplies because I'm mixing potting mix, I'm starting seedlings, so I have little containers. It is a little bit messy in here, but I don't really store anything in here except for some seeds that I'm drying. I'm drying my zinnia seeds. I have some snapdragon seeds in there. So you can see, we'll attach the link for this manual hinge. And that was what I was talking about. The wood warps terribly, and this is the area where it tends to leak from. I also installed a rope here for ease in shutting it because I wasn't sure if I would be able to reach this while it was at its full extension. But I do plan on trying to grow some cucumbers, and I'm going to hook up some rope, and I'll bring a pot down, and I'll see if I can get some non-parthocarpic cucumbers growing in here this year, and we'll see how that works. Overall, the structure does leak from numerous spots. It does dry quickly, but you will want to seal it. It gets very, very warm in here, so you have to pick a day where it's not too hot and it's not too cold, and you'll have to figure out what time of the day that is so that everything seals properly and cures properly. So something that we have noticed is that, I don't know if you can see these little, they're like, almost like when ice crystals form on glass. I was going to reach out to Yardistry and try to figure out what this was, but I never got a chance to do it. So it's almost like it's getting stress cracks on the polycarbonate Here is some more, and we don't know if this is a heat thing. We don't know if there's dust inside of it. You know, they'll give you a lot of reasons when you call for things like this. We've learned how their customer service works, but nonetheless, we've just left it that way for now, and I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. So after almost a full year of being out here, this structure gets a lot of heat. We have a lot of southern exposure here, especially on this side. This faces southwest. The area that I'm seeing is taking the biggest beating is here. Now this is where carpenter bees and wasps are coming over here, and they're scratching at the wood because they like to build their nests out of pulps like this. So that's an exposure issue that's happening. But overall, structurally, it's held up really well. Why? Because we built it on a very, very sturdy base. We had to excavate this area because it is on a slope, so that's something you want to consider. We knew we were not putting it in a level place, so we had to excavate. We had to level, and then we made sure to put the structure on its own base. Now this is 4x4 in the front and 4x6 on the sides. We did it that way because we wanted to have some wiggle room, as you know, we were not really sure how this was all going to sit, you know, while we installed it, if we were going to need some wiggle room. So I like it because it also, the 4x6 also adds some stability. We went ahead and we joined them with corner brackets, and the 4x4s and 4x6s are driven into the ground with rebar that we tapped in opposing directions, and we do cover that in another video. So overall, do I think that you should take advantage of the sale price for the Yardistry Greenhouse sold at Costco? If it's in your budget and you can afford it, I think this is a good introduction to owning a greenhouse. Right now, the greenhouse that I wanted was by a company called Little Cottage. And you know, that got delivered as well, but it was much more substantial structure, and I was very intimidated by the delivery method, and we passed on it, keeping in mind that greenhouse was going to be $10,000. But it had every window that opened. It had multiple layers of windows. It had a ventilation area that would be for a solar fan, so you had ventilation that was going. It had so many features, and I kind of regret that I didn't just go ahead and get the one that I wanted, because we could afford it. And if you can afford it, that's what I want you to think about, is the affordability. If you can afford it and you're just not really sure because you don't want to waste your money, this is a good place to start. It really, really is, because you can use this functionally. You can. You just have to know where you live, what your weather patterns are, and what you can expect. I mean, right now, it's over 90 degrees in here on an overcast day. It is very, very warm. Yet I think it's only 70 some overcast degrees out here in New Jersey today. I'm standing here and I'm starting to sweat while I talk to you, just inside of the door here. So anyway, you guys, if you're thinking about it and you keep walking by it and you keep smelling it and you keep opening the door and having a look in, and it's cute little shelves and you're starting to imagine it in your space, the sale dates for this, and you may have received your flyer already, are August 30th to September 24th. That will give you plenty of time to get it while supplies last. Knowing that you can return anything to Costco, and a purchase this big, you'll get a nice credit back on your Costco card for rewards. So that's something else to consider, that, you know, it will basically reduce the price of the structure itself. We'll be happy if we get 10 years out of this thing. If we get less, then it is what it is. It's a chance we took, but I'd rather spend $1,000 than $10,000 to realize that owning a greenhouse just was not for me. So it's a good place to start. But anyway, you guys, go back and look at the videos. We're going to attach them below. Overall, if you can afford it, I say get it. Give it a try, make it work for your space, and see whether or not you want to go into a bigger greenhouse someday. So thanks for watching, you guys. By the way, my name is Leigh. This is our backyard garden. If you have not subscribed to our channel, we sure hope you will do so. Thanks again, you guys. I'll see you in the next video.